Thank you so much for being with us on a Tuesday night. On behalf of First Amendment Sports, I'm Ken Marangolo. He's Kevin Ricca.
Thank you guys for checking us out. A special show tonight. A guy that I've known for a majority of my life. My former coach, my friend, my guy, Marty Favret. I'm fired up, man.
We are going to be flying by the seat of our pants, and which is kind of the way we like to do things down here. This is the WCAC Spectacular, and let's bring in our two very special guests. One is what is anxiously awaiting next to his ever-growing set of amazing. There it is. He's Tim Strachan.
And congratulations on getting us going tonight. Not only are you the CEO of this whole operation and wear like 1,000 other hats, but tonight you're host and technical director. I know you've got bugs going on, but you got it going, man. It's amazing because our guest is amazing.
Yes.
So I'm pretty sure at one point in his life, maybe a couple times, hated me. I'm talking for like maybe 3 hours at a time. But over time,
join the club.
He has got a mind about football that is unbelievable, that even great coaches we've had on this show have described as a mad scientist when it comes to offensive football. So looking forward to it, Coach.
Well, let's bring him on. Let's introduce him, because he's sitting there with his arms folded like he wants to chew through the screen and get right at you, Tim Strachan. He really needs no introduction in our community. His name is Marty Favret. He's been coaching down south, a little place called Hampton, Sydney, which, again, another couple of words that get said on this show very, very often. He's part of the WCAC family through and through. Pride of Gonzaga, but there's a lot of schools that lay claim to Coach Favret. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Yeah, and hey T, I hated you, and I hated Kevin, too. I mean, so I've had a love-hate relationship with both you guys for a long, long time. But I go back to your freshman year when you cost me a JV championship. You tied us out there at one of those crappy fields DeMatha used to play at, Riverside or River something. 16-16 if I remember. But and yeah, I used to throw Kevin off the roof at our St. John's pep rallies on Fridays before the St. John's game. So
that's right.
Yeah,
a doll. Yeah.
I believe there was some flame involved in that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I burned the guy that probably ended up getting me my head job in college.
Oh, come on, man.
4 or 5 years later. So God can be funny that way, but it's good to be on the show, and I miss being up there around the Beltway with all the cool stuff that you guys do, and traffic's not so bad here, but I miss the competitive nature of what we used to go through back in the early 90s.
Absolutely, Coach. And I know you're missing not having a season right now. It was kind of odd. We talked today. You said, yeah, we don't go up the field till 6:30. I get it. It has to be done, and there's just no way around it. But how are you guys dealing? How are you and the Ghosts dealing with that down there with no chess match on Saturday? I mean, you guys playing racquetball? You wrestling each other? What are you guys getting up?
Well, you're right. It's tough. You got that clock in your head as a coach. And the rhythm of a season and the excitement of like for Monday night, it's us till 3 a.m. trying to figure out how to beat somebody that on Saturday, and now we're looking at hopefully playing in March and keeping your kids interested. That's the biggest challenge. And they feel at times it's different. Like I said, we're coping with it. We're happy we're still working. We're happy our kids are here. Hampton City's made a commitment to, keeping the kids on campus. But, yeah, we're not – and the weather's been great. I'm like – so I wake up Saturday morning like, damn, what a good day to play offense. We could have been chucking the ball around the yard. Last year it was like 100 degrees on this past Saturday. So it's adjustment. And, me like a million other coaches are trying to figure it out.
You got any Ricca quarterbacks still piping through that place?
I don't even want to get into that, but because Kevin and I got going on that today, so I'm not going to soil your show in the outlandish thought that Keith Rick was the best of the three. So I'm not going there. But I'm also going to not tout Kevin either. So I think you probably know where I stand there.
That's fair. It's very fair. I understand. Hey, we don't talk about it, and I'm proud of my little brothers. You can give them the credit all day long because they were running that offense that we were running. That's what I knew. That's what I taught them, and that's what my dad taught them. So you can't go wrong. Just don't pick me. Then mom gets mad. So.
Well, JD didn't show up his sophomore year at 235 pounds, so there was just a little different that way.
Hey, I've gone Farmville here, Coach. Quarantine. I've taken it back to the Farmville days.
Yeah, all good. We loved your 1 year down here, buddy.
I had a blast. We had so much fun. It was the real deal. I've been thinking about it all day, Coach. Having Walter Shorty Sims, a character like that, around us every day. Guys, he was the oldest living known man with Down syndrome in North America at the time. Danny Aiello made a movie about the man. Then you mix in a Keith Conlon and a Brandon Hampton with Coach Favret. Ryan Silverfield running around down there early on in his coaching career before he got to Memphis. A lot of fun to be had down in Farmville during that era. I loved it.
And maybe my best team. We were really good that year. We kind of got robbed, but yeah, I know the owner of the McDonald's here is a good friend of mine, and they miss your business, Kevin.
Yeah.
Like their sales are now like 4% since '03. So whatever you were doing down there was impressive.
It's very fair. And to be fair, Jeff Clay warned me about this venom you've been spewing all week, and that's why I'm happy I didn't show up to tonight's interview at 275, fellas.
Oh, good.
Yeah, Coach, we almost dropped a full 100 pounds amongst the three of us. So, I mean, we're darn close. I think between Kevin and T, they're carrying the load of that, obviously. I mean, I don't mean obviously, but, obviously.
We had plenty of load to bear.
Yeah. I want to say shout out. I know we have Brian Sanders and AGH and Mike Hunter, another great coach from the area who's got to be a name that rings a bell for you, Coach Favret. People that talk about making it a classy show. All of a sudden you put Marty on and then Mike Hunter shows up. I mean, for goodness sake.
Well, Mike's my guy, along with a lot of other kids. Obviously one of those guys that went from Gonzaga to Catholic, really following Jeff's footsteps. But what a neat story. And they were talking about watching somebody grow up over 4 years, from like the little shy kid to, a guy that was getting NFL looks, really special kid. And now he's not so much a kid, Coach Hunter. Happy to hear from you, Mike, wherever you are.
I saw what he put out. I think it was today. We talked about changing his number from 80 to 9.
Yeah.
That was cool. He saw himself as an 80, and then he didn't think he was getting it done with the 80, and he was searching around for a number. Mercury Hayes was number 9, I think, and he had the same initials, and he threw the number 9 on, and I don't think he looked back from that point. And I wouldn't say just as a player, because we all know what Coach Hunter's been all about, up in these parts. So that number 9, and he said no one just gets number 9, which to me it's the little things. We're sitting here in a basement, Coach, talking sports, and you got Big T smiling there and Kevin smiling, but like it's the little teeny things, like the number you wear, like it shouldn't otherwise matter. But it's the combination of all of that, and when I think about stuff like that, that's what I miss the most. About sports when we've been robbed of it or deprived of it over the last 6-7 months is those little things that you probably miss even more.
Well, I think one of the most egregious mistakes you make as a staff is to give a recruit a single-digit number now, and he's a terrible player. So you give a kid number 5, and then his junior year, you're like, are you kidding me? Who gave him number 5? And now I got 4 other guys that want that number, and we're stuck. So I guess the walk of shame is when you go from 5 to like 68, and as a kid, you're probably like, I guess I'm not really I don't have much future in this program. But Jeff Clay was 87 his freshman year. He's a fat like tight end, and then we gave him 12. So it goes both ways.
87? You did that. You are the mastermind behind 87. And I'm certainly happy you did. But I would never have said that until today.
He didn't fit in 12, so he had to wear 87. So, you know, hey, come on, Jeff, wherever you are.
I prepared the nameplate for just this exact moment. I'm so excited that it came up at the most perfect second. Oh man.
Hey, while T-Stracken's down there and I'm chuckling at this, real quick, I think both you two on the other end of these Skypes would appreciate my Catholic University numbers story. It was a year after, unfortunately, this accident happened to T. I wanted to wear 13 badly. Franny Murray issued me number 7. I don't want anything to do with number 7. That's nothing says quarterback more than number 7, and I don't want to be just a quarterback. And I went in, and on the first day, I told Franny Murray, hey, Bob Froley from Pittsburgh wants 7. I'd love to take 13 in honor of my friend T. He looked me dead in the eye and said, hey, big shot, you've been here 15 minutes, and you're already making the choices, calling the shots around here? Next. And I walked off horrified. I couldn't believe I'd ruined my whole career in 15 minutes. And the next day when I came to practice, you can assure it that number 13 practice gear and all the stuff that comes with it was lined up in my locker. What a great guy, Freddie Murray. That's a cool story, and that's so typical Franny, because he wasn't going to make you – he was going to put you in your place, but then he was going to take care of you. And I obviously remember T being 13, and, you know, for guys, like I said, had a big impact on my career. I think it's a great story, Kevin. You wore it well. I did my best.
He did. He did. Hey, Marty, what I'd love to ask you, this is a WCAC show. You're a WCAC guy down to the core, having graduated from Gonzaga and then coached there. And now you've coached a whole bunch of other places, but you stayed connected to the league. Just talk about some of the characters, not necessarily the best players or anything like that, but the characters, the guys that maybe pop to your mind about your journey from the WCAC and through the years, all the guys that you've coached and coached against and everything like that.
Hey, T, that's a great question. I was talking to Daryl Gross about this the other night, even before I knew I was going to be on. To be in your late 20s, which I was, and of course I was a basketball player and, started the CYO and Mark Allen gave me a chance at Gonzaga and John Rick was a big influence. But, we're all a product of our eras, but those years were just so to be able, like week in and week out, to go against Bill McGregor, to go against John, to go against Tommy Clark and forge a friendship with him that defined my career. I mean, it was a crazy conference in terms of the competitive nature. Don't forget O'Connell and, Eric Metcalf was running around when I first got into coaching. It was, for a guy who's coached for 30-some years and I guess had some success, those 5 or 6 years, whether it was at the JV level or my 3 years as an offensive coordinator for Moss, they define you. And you're playing in front of 4,500 people. I mean, it's a big deal, to be 30 years old. And, I'm Moss Collins' offensive coordinator. I mean, the stage was bright. And, playing against you guys in 93, it was number 1 versus number 2 out there at Parkdale. And I remember pulling into the parking lot. I was like, oh, my God, there's no spots here to park. That's heady stuff, and it's something I've never forgot. And really a cool group of guys, Carroll, going to Carroll. I mean, playing Carroll in the early 90s, man, if that doesn't kind of give you a feel for what high school football is all about, I mean, you're crazy. And then obviously the Gonzaga St. John's games, which were always epic. So, yeah, it was huge for my development, and I couldn't have asked for a better place to do it.
Hey, let me just mention this real quick, just to give some perspective here. I mean, we all know locally, but if you're checking us out, this is Coach Marty Favret. He talked about his time as the JV coach and offensive coordinator at Gonzaga. He goes to Catholic University for 6 years, and I was lucky enough to be part of those first 4. He goes on a tear, gets a job at Hampton City. This would be his 21st season coaching, 5 ODAC Coaches of the Year, 5 ODAC champions. Good luck not finding Hampton City in the top 10 in every statistical category nationwide. I know the year I was down there with you, Coach, we led the nation in points at 47.2. We were second in yards. That old Mount Union was always a bit of a thorn in our side that season. But it was fantastic. It was great kids. But when I was down there, J.D. Rickett of Conrad Singh was another WCAC connection, and you just started right back up again. And by that point, you're well seasoned and running a hell of a program. So I just want everyone to know that that's who we're talking to right now. The way we're talking, it's like our buddy just showed up that we haven't seen since quarantine started, and that was also the case. I knew you'd be a great conversation. I'm a dummy for not having you on sooner, Coach. Thanks for being here tonight.
Well, I appreciate the shout out. It's been a neat place to work for 20 years and 20 plus years and we do have great kids down here, and it's in Division III football is who I'm about. Going back to your freshman year, Catholic, and I think we do it the right way. And offensively, we maybe were ahead of the curve. I remember when I came down here in 2000, we didn't huddle. I had these 65-year-old alums saying, "What are they doing?" So we did some fun things, and you were part of that. The game changes, and I hope I keep changing with it. You guys had Bob Malloy on a couple weeks ago, and he and I are really tight, and he's just such a cool guy. And as he told you, he came down here, and he's retired and all this. And Bob, the first thing he wanted to do was do X's and O's. And so we got the pen out, and he wants to talk about the belly, and I keep telling him that nobody's run that since 1958 except him. But we enjoyed it, and there's a mutual respect, obviously, between the two of us. Although he's the king, for sure.
Well, all right. So we're talking about Kings now. Now you're getting into a little spot in the basement where we like to talk about the WCAC history and past. And on the board tonight, again, just the people it's amazing. You got obviously Mike Hunter, Brian Sanders, AGH, Malcolm Johnson ringing in, Philly Ron, Jeff Clay, amongst many others. But these are the people who are starting to say names that we like to say down here. And you had an up-close front row seat to at least one, if not two or three of the best players any of us had ever seen with our eyes. Malcolm Johnson said it, so he gets the credit for bringing it up. Joe Howard, Marvin Graves, Lawrence Moten, some of those guys. I think he did want to make sure Kevin understood that his Gonzaga boys never lost to St. John's, but he says they could never get past the boys from Harewood.
My sophomore year.
Your sophomore year.
Let's just always remember it. Sophomore year, yes.
Sophomore year. All right. Well, either way, I'll tell you what, Coach. The big debate has, and it's a fun debate, and there's no winners or losers between Lawrence Moten and Eric Metcalf. But Marvin Graves, for goodness sake, you could start and build a championship dominant team around that player alone. I mean, I wanted to get you talking a little bit about him because he was special.
Well, Kevin knows this. I coached Marvin at St. Camillus, my second year coaching. I remember we had played them in the city championship the year before, and we're talking 1983 here, and we beat them 16-15, and he was at St. John's Chelm, and then the next year we're signing up at Camillus, and someone says, "Hey, Marvin Graves is here with his dad." And I'm like, "Yeah, really?" And they had dropped football. So Marvin ends up in our lap. I'd never seen a kid to this day that could throw the ball 70 yards with his right hand and then punt it 70 with his left foot. I mean, you talk about crazy athleticism. Like, Kevin, you go out there and try to punt with your left foot. I know you were a great quick kick guy for us, but he was that kind of guy. And, of course, I had 4 years at Camillus. We won the city championship every year except Marvin's year. So I might have been the worst coach in the country that year. But so, yeah, I love Marvin. But I tell you, Lawrence Moten, who used to come to our basketball camp at Gonzaga, I watched him, like, take an NBA. He took Kevin Greavy to the wire in a one-on-one game when he was, like, in 10th grade. So I'm a fan of those two because of their ability to play both sports. because Marvin was a great point guard. And then, of course, Joe Howard, I mean, sick athletically. So, yeah, it's a really cool argument. I'm trying to figure some other names to throw in there, and I'm having trouble doing it.
Well, there's one in the bottom corner of the screen.
Bottom left.
Yeah, bottom left of the screen.
Bottom left.
He gets in the conversation.
Yeah, and Kevin, maybe before your knee injury, because you were obviously a two-sport guy too. But yeah, it was a fun league. You know, when you go through that conference back then, and I know it's probably the same now, but no, we just beat Butte Council, and they have 4 Division I guys. We just played O'Connell; they had 6. My last year at Gonzaga, I think we had 11 kids that ended up, you know, playing at the Division I level, and that doesn't count the Jeff Clays of the world. So it was really neat. But yeah, Lawrence Moten was really special. I'll leave it at that. He was different too. What do they used to call him? Poetry and Moten or whatever it was. His Jared Bradford. So yeah, it was. They were fun to watch, those guys, as they grew up. And of course, I saw Marvin. You know, he coached at Catholic for years. It was always good getting together with him.
Steve Anders just commented that Lawrence Moten returned a punt against him for 80 yards. They called it back, repunted it, and he ran it back a second straight time.
And his 107-yard interception return on a slant against St. John's to give them their only loss of the '89 season. I watched that with tear-filled eyes, and I saw that guy was moving so fast at 6'5", 220. It was a joke. I really do think he would have had a 10-year career in the NFL.
Marty, Kevin Rook and I were the water boys for St. John's that day.
Yeah. Well, Moss used to kid. He goes, I have a strict rule. If a player is not there 90 minutes before kickoff, he doesn't play unless it's Lawrence Moten. Yeah, but a cool guy, and it was neat to watch him grow up. I hope he's doing well.
Absolutely. We got to get him on down here too. You know, so that's what happens,
Sam.
Coach. We get these coaches on. The last 4 high school coaches we've had on here, all great guys, all brought your name up unprovoked. You know, we're not that smart down here, but we ain't stupid. Write that name down. We got to make sure. We've actually had them on in the past, but we're trying to do some different things here with this new TriCaster. It was awesome that you agreed to do this tonight. But, Coach, your big thing was remembering everything that's ever happened on the field. But, man, you were quite a character off the field. I'm not going to lie. You got our attention differently, hence the McDonald's comments and the 87 doesn't fit 12. How about some of the guys that you were around coming up, some of the characters that, you know, you might have looked up to or had a couple extra laughs with?
Well, I mean, Jack Bruin is at the top of the list. I mean, Jack was my guy, and my coach my junior and senior year at Catholic, and you know, unfortunately passed away early. And you know, I was at his funeral. Just for you guys that don't know Jack Bruin, he played at Power Memorial where Lou Alcindor played, and then of course he came down and was a point guard at Catholic, and then went on, had a great coaching career, starting with Morgan Wooten, and then was the head coach at Carroll when Jeff Baxter was there, and that crew. And then ended up being my coach at Catholic, and then went on to Colgate. He died at the age of 49 of pancreatic cancer. And you know, I went to that funeral, and it was like late December, and there's Boeheim, and there's Coach K, and there's Roy Williams, and you're like, wow, this guy was the real deal. So, you know, of all the people, Dick Myers was my coach in high school, and I have amazing respect for Dick, who actually coached Jack. But Jack Bruin was my guy, and you know, and he was the character of all characters. I could say some lines he used when they wouldn't be proper for public, but I talk about a ref baiter and a funny guy and a character, but also had a kind heart. And you know, you get a note from him just out of the blue. I tore my knee up my senior year, and he basically made me an assistant coach my last 12 games and said, you know, I want to hear your voice. And it might have been one of the reasons I got into coaching. So, you know, I was blessed to play up in that league, you know, with Morgan and Joe Gallagher and all those guys. And, you know, that was neat. And I, you know, you think about that all the time as I get older. You know, you look back on those things that were happening when you were 16, 17 years old that made a difference.
Well, you talk about getting older. Is it weird that Tom Clark doesn't seem to have aged one single second? The last time I saw him, his mustache looked exactly like it did my senior year of high school, and he talked and sounded and looked exactly the same. I was kind of like blown away by that.
Well, you obviously haven't played golf with Tommy because he can't get off the tee anymore. But no, he still strokes that mustache. That's his little nervous thing. And he's been wearing a mustache for what, 50 years?
Yeah.
So started when he was 12. But no, Tom and I stay in touch. We're kidding about that 50-50 making game, but I still bitch about that 95 season when he told me Kevin couldn't throw the ball anymore and we had to run it every play. But no, Tommy, he's the best football coach I've ever been around. Literally, how many guys could be an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator, and a special teams coordinator and be great at all three?
Yeah, we were lucky guys down at that Catholic sidelines. We had all kinds of business going on. Billy Edwards, and I mean, it just you can't even start. We've had Bernard Joseph on. Coach, I had Coach Joseph on, and I said, "Hey, Bernard, remember the Alamo?" Oh man, did he kick it to a new conversation in like 0.3 seconds?
We all should have been fired. And Johnny Butler's done okay for himself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, coaching with the Buffalo Bills now. So yeah, you're right. It was a neat time, and I used to get a kick out of your dad. We used to have the film developed over at St. John's, and he was playing those 11 a.m. games, get out by 1:30, and be back yelling at our refs by halftime, and then we go over there and have tapes, and they were special years, Kevin, without question.
Yes. And it seems like quite a while back when we had to get the film developed.
Yeah, quote unquote. It took a little longer than we thought.
Yeah, the dark room and the process. You can't open the door. You got to start all over again.
Well,
man.
Yeah.
Speaking
All
of,
good.
Coach, we got a couple questions from the board. I was going to kind of curate, and it's just this is probably one of my favorite board crowds in some time. Just all these guys coming back. A lot of Gonzaga guys, a lot of Catholic guys, and just folks from around the WCAC. I mean, does anyone not claim you as theirs, which is the greatest thing ever? But here's a question for you, and I think Ron was the one who posed it first. And as offensive football continues to evolve and develop, how do you grow your schemes? Where do your ideas come from? How do you stay fresh and try to continue gaining an edge on offense?
Well, that's a great question because that's what we all think about. I have had great quarterbacks, and we've obviously thrown to run. But as you and we found this past year, which was a rough year for us. I haven't had athletic quarterbacks, so in the running game, which is so different, to be able to try to run the ball when you don't have the quarterback as a run option, it is tricky. So we're blowing things up. I'm a kind of a fan of what Central Florida does. I think the pace stuff is a little overrated. I think defenses have adjusted. I think you got to be really careful when you don't have depth to play as fast as some of these teams do. But yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I watch a lot of football. I mean, not so much the NFL, but I really enjoy watching what the college teams are doing. And I got a lot of friends, including Ryan Silverfield of Memphis, and they run the ball as well as anybody in the country. So it's. I like to think I'm still relevant at the age of 58. I mean, we want to change. We want to do some things differently. But it all gets back to a lot of the same stuff. You got to, what's your personnel? I try to get my best players the ball, whether it's Jeff Clay back in 97 or Drew Smith here, who led the country in receiving. So it helps to have players. But the offensive game is so different. And like I said, we thought we were cutting edge 20 years ago because we were no huddle and we were quick throwing a lot of screens. And now people are yawning at that stuff. So, it's interesting. You can learn a lot. And hopefully I'll keep coming up. Maybe I have a few more ideas that we can sprinkle in a few more wins over the next couple of years.
Bo
Marty,
Murray, Bo Murray's got you as the number one, by the way, just so you know. He's shouting you out. Go ahead, T.
First of all, I appreciate that, Bo. I really do. But, Coach, how do you go from you were a basketball guy. You say you played basketball, right? How do you go from playing basketball to becoming this offensive, I'm going to say it, genius, because others have said it over and over? Does it come to you like music came to Beethoven? I mean, what is it that allowed you to become that innovative on football?
T, did you just really go music to Beethoven?
I did.
I mean, okay.
There's
a lot more depth to you than I realized. No, I'm just kidding. The
beard.
He's getting everybody.
I appreciate that. Hey, I was a competitive guy. When I was at Gonzaga, the football program was really. I mean, I love football. I played at Camillus for Stu McIntosh. It was my. I was better at one sport. I was, weightlifting wasn't a big deal, but football was always in my blood. My brothers played. I don't know. I'm competitive. We played basketball on grass for years. I guess some people kind of use that analogy. I coached basketball, and I liked, and I thought I was okay at it. But football to me was the ultimate sport, and I think as a coach, you have a bigger impact there than rolling out the ball and having the better guys basketball wise. So, and I was just lucky. I was lucky. Tom Clark was huge for me. Moss was huge for me. I just loved it. I remember telling my mom my first year at St. Camillus, I said, I think this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And, to not have football in my background at the college level and to be a head college coach, at the age of 37, that doesn't happen very often. So, everything from number 13 in the studio there being an All-American kid for me and getting us all, kind of on the map. I was just very, very lucky, and genius. That's silly. I don't know. I enjoyed the game, and I was competitive, and as legendary in the sense that and I had a lot of confidence. I guess those are the things that kind of matter.
Oh yeah, I think it gave you an edge, Coach. I think it gave you an edge early on, and you were not taking less than perfection. We only had hour and 45-minute practices, and I'm telling you, they were action-packed, live, and this guy was all over the field. I think that edge started off in the first meeting when Coach addressed the Catholic University coming in to play football in 1994 and said that aside from Gallaudet, you averaged 6 points a game last year. I chuckled. No one else in the room thought it was very funny. I learned quickly to keep my head down and mouth shut. But that was the attitude we took. And we came swinging from the hip week in, week out. And we won a lot more than we lost that first year. And I still don't really know how, but I know it was fun as hell.
Well, I'll tell a quick story that you guys will enjoy. We were playing St. John's Fisher up in Rochester, and they were a really good team. And it came down to the wire, and we had a bad snap, and we ended up in a 3rd and 28 situation, up 6. And Kevin came over to the sidelines, and I said, "Have you ever punted the ball?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." I said, "Well, let's quick kick this." And so Tommy comes to me and he said, "Have you guys worked on this?" And I said, "Oh yeah, a bunch, like Thursday, complete lot." And so Kevin being Kevin, he was a good athlete, he was a Ricka, so he like a 49-yard punt down at the 2. We get a 3 and out, they punt to us, and we end up winning the game. So my first lie, I was at Hampton City, we got an honor code. But thank you for not shanking at 15 yards because I might have been fired and I'd be working at Lowe's right now. So I appreciate it.
Oh, that's a funny story. And I do remember that. But you know what? We did stuff like that. In the huddle, which we didn't have. I had to huddle. I was like, I'm going to take 2 extra steps back in shotgun. Then I'm going to punt it. So go tackle somebody. Yeah. I mean, everyone just went like, all right. That's what we did that year. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors, but a lot of legit, don't get me wrong, a lot of legit football. And we ran that spread, and people weren't ready for it. But that was a lot of fun, Coach. But I had much fun on as I did off. And we only yelled at each other once up in Jersey. I took the headset off because Coach was yelling at me. But I tried to leap over a guy at the 5. And let's just say my midsection didn't get high enough off the ground for that helmet.
Yeah, that didn't pan out for you. I remember that.
The only reason I dropped the headset is because you don't get yelled at when you're feeling that pain. You know, that delayed 20 seconds. I mean, to be fair, my balls were killing me. I had to drop the headset. I stick to that story.
I'll give you your due there. Yeah, that's fine.
Thanks, Coach.
You can disrespect me when that's going on with your lower regions.
That was it. That was it.
Go ahead, T.
I love the story, Coach. I don't know if you remember, and I'm going to put Kevin on the spot if you don't, but how you laid down the line about excessive celebration that first year. Do you remember that speech?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was it seemed like the guys I had that excessively celebrated, and I don't know where you're going with this, but some of those things were plays that guys were like not doing anything really that spectacular to score, and I don't know, that always bugged me, but you're going to embarrass me with what I probably said, because I might have referenced some other high school conferences that weren't the WCAC, but. So go ahead.
It was to embarrass Kevin Rick specifically.
Go ahead, T.
It was specifically the hip thrust celebration that you had seen before.
All right.
Oh, Kevin Rick. Oh yeah. Where my mom was at the game and she said, "I'm ashamed of that Ricka boy." Yeah. He did that, because I had the sign put up that said, "Daddy, Daddy, can I play quarterback?"
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. I'll take the T. I'll take the T on the sign if Kevin will take back the hip thrust. X-rated.
The Hingle McCringleberry celebration.
Yeah.
Hey, it was on Trip O'Brien. Does that count for anything?
Yeah, that was the game in Northwestern, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that was great.
Sorry, Malcolm. That was sophomore year. You guys got the better of it. I get it, but I got to hang on to sophomore year.
That was we had spray painted Ike's end zone, and then you guys came in and put Mike's end zone. Was it Mike Brown?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So good game. Me and your dad yelled at each other afterwards. Was that the game Pat Collins ran through?
Yes.
Yeah, good job.
We had the swords up. I mean, there was almost like multiple stabbings with sabers. Yeah. There was helmets flying. It was just a good old St. John's Gonzaga game.
Yeah, Marty, you're in charge of pregame. Thanks, Moss. You know, while you're in the locker room, I'm watching Pat Collins run through. Yeah, that was fun. You had a good game, though, buddy.
Thanks, man. It was the first time they let me play some defense, and I was so excited until the first down when Ike Wilkins was barreling downhill, and I just held on for dear life. That's what I've been doing ever since. What a good dude, Ike Wilkins.
Bo Murray got hurt, and we put Manfreda in for one play, and he hit Chad Leonard for a touchdown. Pretty ballsy for a kid that was St. John's transfer and all that. So
yeah.
And I do remember all this stuff. It's weird.
And he didn't know what the count was on. The ball hit his hand. Everyone took off, and he paused for one full second, took 3 steps, threw it up. Chad Leonard came down with it. It was Paul Staines, though. Bo Murray was the next year.
Oh, good call by you. Yeah. Thank you.
Paul's a good man. I couldn't leave him off.
Well, now that we're getting back into it, Malcolm Johnson wants to know if you'd ever consider coming back, coaching in the league, as we like to say.
Unofficially, there's been calls over the years, but man, I haven't, as Kevin knows, I have a dream job down here.
Sure.
when I was 30 and coaching under Moss, my dream was to be the Gonzaga head coach. And when Tommy called me about going to Catholic, I went to Moss's house and I said, what do you think I should do? And he told me a cool story about Lee Corso offering him a job in 1968 when Corso, I believe, was at Indiana. And Moss turned it down, a chance to be a coordinator. And he said, Marty, chance to get to the college level, you should grab it. And I didn't go to my dad. I went to Moss. And Moss talked me into taking that job in 94 and going with Tommy. The pay was nothing. I still taught at Gonzaga for another 6 years. But I gave up my dream then to be the next Gonzaga coach. And then, the rest is kind of history. We had that great 6-year run. And then I got a chance to get my dream job down here. So, no regrets. Joe Raid and I are good buddies. I've been talked to over the years with Johnny Williams and all these guys, but I never was tempted to go back. That's not a fun league to coach in right now, my guess is, but yeah, I mean, I love Gonzaga, and in a different world, maybe that would have been a place for me, but I certainly have no regrets.
Well, life is good for the Favret family down in Farmville. That I can attest to, and they were some of the main reason why life was good for the Ricca family down there in the early 2000s when my brother JD and Marty, who have an incredible relationship as well, were taking care of business down there. We just that is one of the most memorable times of our family football life. And what a great place to drive down and catch a game on Saturday and not know you're going to stay Saturday night until about halftime. You got the look from the sidelines. That meant we were staying. Yeah, we were going home on Sunday. We were going to pull this one out. We're going to have some fun tonight. It was a great time, Coach.
No, they were great years, and obviously the Ricca family's been a big part of and not just there, but the parking lot at Catholic and some fun times back in the day in the 90s as well. And hey, make sure you say hi to your mom for me, Kevin. I hope she's doing well.
You got it, Coach. She's doing great. She's got 7 grandsons that she's taking care of right now. 1 granddaughter, but she's mine. She's got 6 maniacs under 4. They are all open for recruitment at any level for any Catholic education. I'm toting them. I'm allowed to brag about my nephews. You're not allowed to talk about yourself or your brothers and sisters, but nephews, that's like being a grandparent, right?
No holds barred. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I want to, on behalf of everybody in the basement and on behalf of everybody on the board, I want to thank you just for your time, for your stories, and certainly brighten up this Tuesday night, Coach, and very much appreciate having you on. I'd like to make sure that this is a first of multiple appearances on our show. And I'll just, since everybody, we got such an all-star cast on the board, I'd love to get you back. I know Kevin and T and I would love to talk to you about some of the games we called last year in the league. Maybe we can watch some footage of some of these guys. They've moved on to D1. Some of them are definitely on their way to Sunday football. I'd love to get your commentary on some of that, and I think that would be a fun night in the basement if you would oblige.
I would love to, and it's great connecting with you guys. Hey T, it's great seeing you, buddy, and obviously Kevin, we gotta sneak back up. Well, next time I get up, I will hook up with you guys. But yeah, we're not as busy as we usually are this time of year, so I'd love to connect with you guys. This has been a lot of fun for me, and keep doing the good work. Appreciate it.
Until next Tuesday night, this was a WCAC Spectacular. On the bottom left-hand corner, that's Tim Strachan.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Marty. It's been awesome. Look forward to having you on again.
He's Kevin Ricca.
Well, I told you guys what type of guest Coach was going to be. And you know what? I'm just reminded about how much fun I had on a daily basis getting to go out on the practice field with this guy. Let's keep it going, Coach. Let's get back together. Maybe I have no problem sliding down through Farmville to say what's up to you and the Ghost. Check things out. Make sure everything's all right down there.
Get some McDonald's.
But, yeah, Coach Favret's a 4-part series. You know, you can't just get rid of him in one night.
We just scratched the surface.
Hey, Coach, thanks for your time tonight. I appreciate everything.
All good, Kevin. Hey, ice down that arm so we can get some reps in, which was always a problem with you.
Yeah, that's true.
You the man. Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Have a great night.
Thanks, Coach.
Go Redskins.
I'm Ken Marangolo. This was the WCAC Spectacular. See you guys next Tuesday night.
He was awesome.